Okay, thanks for checking this out. Today is our first BlackBerry Central podcast. Today we've got Jim Muir, the creator of Snap. We've got Jared, Adriano, Kelly, Shlomi, Scott, and Deval all attending today. So it looks to be a great podcast, well-rounded. But let's kick it off right away. The first thing I want to do is announce the winners of the Phantom Glass and BlackBerry Central contest. So if you won, expect an email this week from our info team. We'll get a hold of you, and we'll set up some info and get to it. So our first winner is Bruno7, Moog, Rob Luck 82, Eric Harris, and Duke. So congrats to you guys. You've won a Phantom Glass and BlackBerry Central launch contest package. And again, we'll get in touch with you later this week. So the first topic we wanted to go over today in the podcast is actually Android for Work. That was announced sort of this past week here. And it might be kind of cool just to go over some of the details. So Jared, why don't you just fill us in a little bit about what Android for Work is?
Okay, so Google's making a serious push to get more credibility for Android in the enterprise. Yeah, they've been struggling with it so far because Android devices are built by so many different kinds of vendors and there's so many different versions of Android. Having BES 12 to manage these devices, it'll be easier for enterprise to allow their employees to bring in their own Android devices so they can be managed by trusted security. They announced the deal with a number of mobile device management companies as well, but BlackBerry stock jumped the most. So it looks like BlackBerry has the most to gain from all of those partnerships, but it's a real win-win for Google and BlackBerry because Google wants to be taken more seriously in the workplace, and they want it to be more secure, and BlackBerry wants to be able to manage a wider variety of devices. In 2014, there was 1.2 billion Android devices added to the market or sold, and so this just gives BlackBerry a lot more access to manage much more than the previous partnerships that BlackBerry's made. So compared to Knox or its partnership with Lenovo.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for BlackBerry, like you said, to push that sales, and hopefully we see some BES 12 sales jump up a little bit there.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of potential for increased revenue.
Yeah.
And that's up to, BlackBerry's got a lot of extra value that the other guys just don't have.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they have, it opens a lot of doors for BlackBerry, and having access to so many more devices in so many more different enterprise environments, there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of potential for Google as well, with Android really sort of taking off in the enterprise. And further partnership with Google can never really be a bad thing. You might even look, it might be one small step towards having better Google service integration with BlackBerry devices. I'm sure we'd all be very excited about. And yeah, so it's all really, really good news on that end.
Yeah, it's a good push for the enterprise guys over with Android and their BYOD. But I think you touched base as well about being more cross-platform for BlackBerry. They're really trying to push that, especially with John Chen and his sort of open talk there about making sure that we have more open source things in terms of IoT. So it's really cool to see that they're pushing that cross-platform division. But they also did have the best sort of 10 cross-platform, like Android and iOS users could download that secure browser, they could download that secure email. This is just more of that official sort of partnership rather than just saying, hey, we offer these apps on that platform as well.
Well, Android for Work is baked right into Lollipop.
Right.
For older devices, they have to download the Android for Work app.
Yeah. So it seems like to be something really cool that they're working on. And I guess it almost ties into 10.3.1. We see some more advancements when it comes to the Android runtime you see a lot more Android BlackBerry stuff going on right now.
Seeing a
So
lot
yeah,
more integration.
yeah. So maybe Scott wants to just touch base about the 10.3.1 rollout, because that just happened pretty much last week, really. A lot of people are just starting to see the updates. Some people have had the updates for a bit. Some people have been running leaks. But let's talk about the rollout.
Yeah, so the real official rollout hit around the 19th of Feb. That's when BlackBerry released it to the servers and to be pushed out to the rest. And a lot of the the update includes a lot of new features. The biggest one for me is Blend, so being able to access your phone and not only access it, but use it from your desktop computer. That's just awesome. And then for just the normal people out there who not too into the technical side of using BlackBerry, but being able to get access to those apps through the Amazon App Store, that's another critical piece. The runtime, Android runtime has been upgraded. It was upgraded in 10.3, but again, another upgrade in 10.3.1, and now it enables people wearables a lot more. So the guys out there with the Fitbits and Nike Plus and whatnot can actually use Bluetooth to sync it with their device. Jawbone, there's still a little bit issues with Jawbone for those guys, but for the most part, it's most of the devices out there. Assistant got the upgrade in 10.3, but again, comes to the masses 0.3.1. Instant actions, so able to immediately from your hub either delete an email, file it, reply. That's available. The Z10 guys are finally reporting increased battery life finally, which is a huge bonus for them. Camera updates, and then finally the home page for people who like just seeing their wallpaper. So that's the biggest part of the features. The launch itself looked like it was rolling pretty good there on the 19th. Like, if you follow the forums and whatnot and Twitter, it seemed like it was going en masse. Everybody and their dog was getting 10.3.1, but it just slowly and it, I was starting to think like, all right, BlackBerry, you got it good this time. But then it started to fall apart, I felt. Then we started hearing about the exceptions. Oh, TELUS Z30 guys won't get it for a little bit longer. Passport from Rogers a little bit longer, and so on. And then finally, I think the last straw was when Michael Kluge tweeted out that basically a tutorial for the people who bought their devices from Shop BlackBerry, who needed to basically shut down their device, take out the SIM card, go ahead and then check for updates, put their SIM card back in as whole smozzle. So I would say mediocre rollout. I don't think John Chen would be too happy overall with it. They had it at first, and then it just kind of fell off. And then that kind of ties into now the Passport flicker issue. As we all know, the Passport's the flagship device for BlackBerry, and there's flicker issues with the lighting and brightness. Dylan, you got a Passport, you got the issue. You're probably better off to explain it more so to me. I'm still with the Z30 here, but as I know, the screen flickers, adjusting the brightness of the screen.
Yeah, like I showed you guys a video earlier, and I mean, I don't know what the issue really is. I've heard a lot of people saying it's with the graphics core. I know for myself, to me, it appears to be with the ambient light sensor. I've heard about people experiencing it from the beginning of 10.3.1. And I hadn't had that issue until the most recent sort of leak build that was supposed to fix it, actually. So it's kind of interesting.
There we go, slowly showing it. So
I was able to record the screen today.
Yeah.
So it's the flagship device. This type of stuff can't happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. So.
And then you think about it, and there's a number of things that you're still missing from 10.3.1. And the one that everybody's complaining about is the dark hub. Where is it? We've been promised it for how long now, and it's still not showing up.
Yeah.
The other thing is the home screen. To me personally, is useless. Like, I don't care for my wallpaper. I don't need to see my wallpaper day and day. I know there are people out there like show their phone and go like, "Hi, look, this is my wallpaper." Well, that's pretty useless to me. So I'd like to see some functionality built into that home screen.
Yeah.
Not necessarily widgets like an Android, but something different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the OS is there, it's getting there, but there's still more things to be worked out, more features people are looking for that need to come. So hopefully in 10.3.2 or even 10.4 we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now with the sort of progression of the OS, we're at this point where a lot of people have a pretty solid OS. There's still some kinks to work out with the Passport users. But looking forward to 10.3.2, hopefully we see some more refinements. We see those little subtle changes. 10.3.2 isn't that major update. It's not some 10.4. It's not anything huge. It's the very subtle changes that we're supposed to be expecting. Some more features from perhaps BBOS days. But 10.3.2 is really more of a hardware optimization software for us. It's not meant for the Z10s really. It's something small for them, but it's really to open up the gate for the new devices, the new processing, the new hardware features. When we start talking about the Visa or Victoria, whichever you want to use. Those are really the hardware optimizations that we're looking at. It's not for these older guys. So it'll be really cool to see. I know Blaze he's shown off a few things. He's got a 10.3.2.179 build right now, which is pretty cool. But we're not seeing a lot of refinement just yet. It's too early to really say anything about it.
Well, I would think right now at the build stage he's at, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's going to be those hardware optimizations because you're going to want to focus on that first, like actual software features, options, all the extra good stuff that the regular user is looking for. But they got to make sure that this OS is from the ground up core for these new devices that they're going to kick off at MWC, which you're going to get into later.
Yeah.
So that's why we won't see it just yet on that little, I won't call it leak, but maybe it is a leak / preview that Blaze got over there at CB.
Yeah. So, it'd be really cool to see a nice build that's sort of an end-all build for the Passport guys. I know I'm not alone when I have the screen flickering issue. And hopefully 10.3.2 gets out eventually, and, we think and only can assume that has those optimizations for something like the Passport. It looks like they're going to be using that same sort of chipset, that 8974, probably moving to an AB rather than the AA like they use in the Passport. But we'll see what they do. It's all kind of open-ended, and things are subject to change all the time, and we see that happen all the time where devices just sort of get canned out of nowhere.
Yeah, so I think my biggest hope would be finally an OS that every device out there gets at the exact same time. BlackBerry goes launch, and then whatever is on the market, whatever can support it to the point where they're happy with it being supported, exact same time, everybody gets it. But it's this piecemeal deal of the Passport got 10.3, Classic got 10.3.1, and we were all hoping 10.3.1 came at the exact same time the Classic launched, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Hopefully BlackBerry gets to the point with this new OS where they can finally bring it all together because all the pieces are there, and get everybody on the exact same playing field at the exact same time, and improve that user experience, because that's what we're lacking right now. You got the Passport guys 10.3. Oh, the Classic guys there are 10.3.1. Meanwhile, the Z30 guys and everybody else are still sitting back at 10.2.1, and that's what's upsetting.
Yeah.
To the user.
Absolutely. So what's your guys' favorite 10.3.1 feature so far, though? I mean, we're still watching these advancements as they happen. Usually a new OS might bring a new feature. We're starting to see BBM meetings actually be pre-installed with 10.3.1. But I'm going to ask Khalid, what's your favorite 10.3.1 feature?
Well, unfortunately, my Passport on Telus hasn't gotten the 10.3.1 update, but my Z30 did, and I like the white keyboard a lot. It's something different. It's something that stands out.
Sure, absolutely. So moving on. Who else has a favorite 10.3.1 feature?
Controversial. I actually like the home screen. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
The one thing that kind of annoyed me was the date and time on the home screen. It's just like a shadow, and you can't change it. And it looks like, sometimes you swipe up and it doesn't work all the way.
Okay.
You kind of just turn the screen off, turn it back on again. It looks like the date is not quite fully loaded on the screen. It's just, it only really makes sense with the really dark wallpaper. I wish there was a little bit more customization options for the home screen, but either you have it or you don't.
Sure. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, it seems to be like a good sort of progression as we're going. It seems like they're getting better. They still have some things to work on. Like it's such a staggered OS too. We've got classic guys on 2072. We've got the main groups on 2443. It's kind of all over the place right now. So hopefully we see them sort of take more attention to that and focus on making sure that we have those optimizations for the devices. I think that's key. But that kind of ties into our carrier discussion as well. Like Wade said, he doesn't have that update yet on his TELUS passport. So I'm going to turn it over to Adriano. Let's talk a bit about the carriers.
So, the famous U.S. carriers. To start off, AT&T launched it February 20th, the Passport and Classic. As we all know, the Passport was a special edition, rounded corners, a bit of a rounded edge, I'd say. The bar is less pertinent around it. On the AT&T site, if I'm not mistaken, it averaged about 5-star reviews by the people, the low amount of people that did do the reviews, which is good. It's not anything special, but it's nice to see. It started out, I believe, with 10.3.1995, if I'm not mistaken. AT&T was the first carrier to start the rollout, and now Verizon also launched the Classic. They have a Classic regular version, and they also have a non-camera version, which is great for people who work in government positions, high classified information positions. Some people don't want the workers to have access to cameras to take pictures of the documents that they have that are extremely confidential, which is another person to sell the phones to. It gives another option out there, which is great. The Bold 9900s, I know, had the same option, and the Classic is sort of an extension of the Bold 9900 in a certain way, so having this model available is, I think, a great idea. Not too long ago, the CEO of T-Mobile, he made an announcement during the quarterly conference that they were in talks to start selling BlackBerries again. I don't know if we had any confirmation on BlackBerry's end, but it's to be seen. We don't know yet if it'll happen. It's good for BlackBerry and it's good for T-Mobile. It's good for both ends if they could work on something to sell, because there's a lot of people on T-Mobile, a lot of old BlackBerry fans, and the more availabilities for devices, the better. I mean, got to push these phones if they want to be successful. You can't just sell from one or two carriers, especially in the States. There's a lot of carriers. I don't know if he was trying to just bring up the hype during his conference call or if it's legit, but it should be. I'm hoping for that. I'm personally in Canada, but I hope always the best during these situations. Mm-hmm. Regarding sales numbers, we don't really have anything as of now. I'd say we might get some stuff regarding that on March 27th during BlackBerry's financial call. The fiscal quarter ended as of yesterday, February 28th. So hopefully we'll get something during that month period. Well, it was about a week really, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And then also with that AT&T passport, obviously there's so many people who are interested in that model around the world. And not just something that people want to see in the States. They want to have that opportunity to buy a rounded passport for whatever reason that they may prefer it over the original design. I know personally I'd like to at least get the hands-on with one. So what I've seen is a lot of people going into these AT&T stores, and I noticed we had some stock outages, whether it was in-store or even online. So the question I'd probably ask is that something that they're doing? Is they keeping low stock because they don't want to push too many, or is it because they're trying to generate a bit of hype too? I think it works almost to both ends. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's probably both ends. I mean, keeping low stock makes people want it more. If you can't have it, you tend to want something you can't have. But they got to be careful to not I know with the BB10 launch, at one point there was really no stock at certain places, and people just like said, okay, forget it, I'm gonna buy another phone, you know.
Right.
So you gotta be careful with that too. And being exclusive only on AT&T makes it more desirable as well. You know, it's not like you could just go to Shock BlackBerry and get it, or anywhere. It's just there. You could hope that maybe some are gonna show up on eBay, but they're probably you could bet that they're gonna be a lot more expensive.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of interesting to see that we have these. I know it's not very public, but we do have these hints that the ATT model is not going to be so exclusive after all. I mean, right now it's going through almost like a trial run with ATT. It's like almost a way to trial that model and make sure that it is something that is desired. So looking into probably mid-2015, I think later towards the end of the year, we're going to see it available on Shop BlackBerry. You know, once that hype dies down a little bit, the ATT guys they're happy. You know, they've got that passport. Then we might see it pop up, whether it's the rest of the stock that they're trying to unload, whatever it may be. It looks to see that it's not going to be just an ATT sort of exclusive forever. And I think a lot of people are going to be happy when they do make that announcement that it's going to be, you know, something that they can get elsewhere as well, in another country to begin with. So, is there anybody here who's a fan of the round design opposed to the original sort of rectangle? Jared, I see. Shalomi, yeah.
Yeah, I think I like it a bit better. I still got to see them side by side. I'd like to see it in person to make a final decision, but I think it looks a little bit better.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
I like the comments I've heard. I've heard it's easier to hold with one hand, easier on the hands because it's more rounded in the back. I like the corners, more conventional look, something we're all used to. But at the same time, I appreciate the passport that I have, the square one, for what it is and what it's done for BlackBerry in the last couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of nice to see that they have at least some options as well. So that's pretty good. Let's talk to Jim a bit. You know, one of the good points to having this podcast today is that he was able to join us. And Jim is, of course, the creator of Snap, the mind behind the very popular sort of Google Play client that's out there right now in its third beta. But let's talk about Snap a little bit. You know, how did that idea? Where did it come from? Where did the idea come from?
Sure. Thanks for having me. First of all,
Sure.
The idea of Snap came from when the Android runtime came out on the BlackBerry. I think 10.2.1. You know, everyone was searching the web for links to download APKs or sideloading, and that I was starting to do that, and it took 5 minutes maybe to load each app. So I thought it might be easier just to make an app that can do it for you. And at first I found an API where someone had implemented a Google Play downloader and exposed it through an API. So that was Snap version 1. And it quickly overloaded because of too many BlackBerry users using it. Google Play has a daily download limit per account. So the next stage was to have Snap give you the ability to log in with your own Google account. And the rest is built from there.
Yeah, and it's helped a lot of people, I know myself included, get a hold of those important Android apps that you might have to go digging through the internet. This is more of like a safer way for you to actually get a hold of those APKs, risking that downloading from some pirating site, or for example. So I know it's helped a lot of people for sure. But what are your thoughts on BlackBerry's sort of inability to integrate these Google Play services to begin with?
I have two things come to mind talking about that. The first is the potential money lost if Google were to integrate Google Play services, BlackBerry getting together. Because all of those apps that run Google Play services, and the number is growing and growing, money could start going to Google instead of BlackBerry World. So that's the first thing. The second is the privacy and data that is given to Google through Google Play services. If you've ever downloaded Google Play services on an Android device, you could see a very big list of permissions you must grant to the Google Play services. Yeah. So those two things I think are important things that maybe BlackBerry and Google just don't. There's no answer there yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we touched a bit earlier here before the podcast just about the implications of actually integrating the Google Play services, and that sort of leaves you open-ended a little bit when it comes to security. And being a BlackBerry itself, and we try to promote that amount of security that it has just naturally on a device level. Opening it up to the Google Play services just seems like you're risking almost too much just for something that's more gaming almost oriented in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of apps depend on it, but we're seeing a trend almost where they're moving away from that in a lot of ways too. So we almost have to ask ourselves as well, is it even necessary to begin with? Or is this something that Google themselves can try to limit themselves to on how much is dependent on these services and try to make it a little bit more open source and open-ended?
Yeah, it's interesting that Google has iOS apps that provide all of these services, but there's no single Google Play Services library or runtime on iOS devices. They kind of package them into the apps themselves. So I'm also curious to see if that could be an option, in the future for something that Google Play could use Google Play Services on third-party non-Android devices.
Yeah. Hopefully the future is a little bit more prosperous for us BlackBerry users. Aside from Snap, the one that I know about is the Cobalt sort of Google Play Store APK. So he modified and found a way that we could actually run and install the Google Play Store on our BlackBerry 10 devices. Have you used it? What's your opinion on his work there?
I've not actually installed it. I looked at the code that in the way he did it, and it's very impressive how he's able to patch the device registration and login. It's similar to kind of things Snap does, but having the full Google Play experience is really cool. My opinion on I've also used his Lucky Patcher methods for patching APKs, and it's very helpful. To run all those Google Play Services apps. My opinion on patching though is that there could be a better way. I've been working on an idea for a kind of Android app that runs as a shim on a BlackBerry device, where Android apps that require Google Play Services can communicate with this shim, and the shim then communicates with Snap, and then Snap takes care of your Google account authentication and what apps you own and things like that. I have a proof of concept working, and hopefully later this year or sometime when I have time, get more work on that. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds very cool. Yeah. So let's talk about Snap Beta 3. I know personally this is something that I've put it on every device that I could. I've got a few BlackBerries kicking around, and I had to install it. I wanted to check it out on the Classic. I wanted to check it out on the Passport, see how it's going. I love the UI. I like the direction it's going. How's it been so far number-wise? Is this something that's increased compared to Snap 2?
Well, I've had over 115,000 downloads of the beta. That's all three versions. It would kind of average us out to around 38,000 downloads per beta, which is a very overwhelming response from the community. I've had over 850 feedback emails, which is great. But if you're watching and I haven't gotten back to you, I'm working through those still. The usage has been, I lost some numbers on the first couple betas, didn't have the analytics package included in it, so I lost some numbers there, but hopefully in the next week or two I can look at the numbers to see how it's grown or.
Absolutely, and I think we're all excited. Who here has the new beta installed on their phone?
I got
there's gonna be a few.
I got it.
Passport.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and what do you guys think so far?
It's the only one I use. I mean, I prefer not to use any other store. A part of the free app of the day from Amazon, I'm not using anything but Snap.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, cool to hear.
I've been running into the non-downloading issue, so hopefully that gets fixed.
Yeah. And so Jim, what are we looking at in the next beta? Is there any cool new features you might want to touch on with us really quick?
The next beta is going to focus on the download issues that some are having, and also there's some Passport users that are reporting crashes when the app launches. And it's been hard to track those bugs down. I actually have a Passport. I ordered one on Friday, and it's coming next week. So hopefully that'll help me track those bugs down. After that, I want to get everyone the ability to download with the beta. After that, I'm looking at doing a headless portion of the app that you could set it to check periodically for updates, and then notify you when there's an update, and also hopefully the ability to download in the background mode, which would be there are constraints on how much memory a background service can use, so that'll be the limitation there. But hopefully I can get something working with background downloads, so when you have an app update, it'll download automatically and it'll be ready to install, at your convenience.
By the way, one cool thing I like about Amazon versus Snap is that instead of pushing launch installer, it rather launches it by itself once downloaded. So maybe it's a good idea to incorporate it into Snap as well.
Sure. Cool. Yeah. As far as I know, I've not, the install action itself is needed to be interactive. But I'll keep looking. I'll look at the Amazon and see what they're doing. See how they do it. Cool.
So after Snap, once we have sort of Snap 3 basically, and that's out of that beta, it's in that final stage, similar to what we have with Snap 2. Is there anything next you have planned for the community? Is there another project you have your eyes on?
After Snap 3, I want to look at that Snap Helper Android shim project, and also I'm currently in the works. I have a RSS newsreader app. If you all remember BlackBerry News from the old BlackBerry OS days, I used that app, hours a day, and I missed it. And
BlackBerry News, how did they call it?
What's that?
BlackBerry News, something like that.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, it was the Vigo app, I think, is what it's called, and BlackBerry, purchased them and renamed it BlackBerry News.
Right.
But it's just, a really good user experience of reading news. That's my goal, anyway. So hopefully people like it. And I usually start building an app based on something that I would use, and like Snap, same thing. It's something that just helped me do something, and this will be the same thing. So hopefully it'll be useful to others.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's helped me, and I think we're all looking forward to the future, and best of luck to you and your development.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So let's talk a bit about Mobile World Congress. That's something that's pretty much taking place today. We've seen BlackBerry has announced the next BBM 2.7, and we're talking about some new features, the vanity pin, as well as blocking ads and a few other things like inline photos in groups. So a lot of cool new features sort of popping up here and there. Really cool to see that. I guess the build goes out tomorrow officially, but it's nice to see that they're making progressions there. I heard that they also expanded some of their enterprise suites today, which is really cool, offering some more MDM stuff. We'll have some more coverage of that on the site today. But let's sort of talk about our expectations. Tuesday is really the day for BlackBerry, and this is when we sort of get into our discussion about new devices. Is there anything that you guys are hoping to see personally from BlackBerry on Tuesday?
I'm really looking forward to seeing the Visa/Victoria.
Sure.
Yeah, that's their innovative device for 2015.
Well, I think we all certainly hope so. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of open-ended right now on what they're going to do. So right now we're looking at pretty much two devices on Tuesday. One that's become very prominently leaked in the past few days is the BlackBerry Leap. Of course, the code name for that for a long time, which we knew was the Rio. This is the STR model. So it's kind of cool. I've seen it. I've gotten a little bit of time to check it out. It's lighter than the Z30. It feels a lot better in the hand. It's more rounded like the Passport in comparison to something like the Z3, which has a little bit more of a, I want to say almost like a consistent shape on the sides rather than something that's a little bit more beveled in and feels a lot better in the hand. We've seen some stuff pop up in the OS as well. We've seen some sort of mock-ups that show a metal frame. The devices that I've seen are in a plastic housing. They're not anything metal. We're hoping for, I think, a $200 price point, $250 or so. I think that's a good starting point. So that's one of the devices I know about for Tuesday. But of course, this is Mobile World Congress. This is the innovation event of the year, pretty much. This is something that they do where the sort of mobile industry leaders get together. They announce their new products and services. And so hopefully we're looking at something like the Visa or, some kind of new Passport iteration at least. Something that's going to bring a little bit more oomph, a new flagship in there. I know a lot of people are looking for an all-touch. I know I wouldn't mind seeing one. I think a lot of you guys are probably looking for an all-touch as well. So,
I think there is a lot of people looking for that Z30 replacement, and also a lot of people looking for that Z10 replacement. And there's a lot of talk about the Visa and Victoria. But you know what? You got to give kudos to John Chen on this one, because there's been almost next to nothing leaked out. There's a lot of speculation, and a lot of people attempting to make connections. For example, that patent submission with the foldable stowaway keyboard with the Passport type keyboard, but really that hasn't leaked out. It's just people making speculation and connections of, there will be an innovative device launched at NWC, but no one's actually come out and leaked saying, Victoria and Visa are going to be launched or announced. So it's kudos to John. He's really shut that aspect down. Personally, I hope to see something because although I love my Z30, and that's the reason why I haven't gone up to a Passport yet, because I haven't felt the need to make a new change, I do hope for a new device because it is getting up to 2 years old, and that's generally the replacement cycle right now.
Right, yeah. At least for BlackBerry. We're not anything like Apple where we see a new product every year or almost even half a year for the most part. Yeah. So we're really hoping to see something innovative. Yeah, for the most part, it's a lot of speculation. Yeah. But for a good question you can almost pose would be, it's stupid not to release or at least show something innovative. Tuesday. This is the one event that's really trying to push that innovation. We saw today the Galaxy S6 Edge, and it's not exactly spec-wise innovative. It's more of the design. Having that sort of the edges to that screen that sort of flow over. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see that they're trying to do something that's a little bit off-key and a bit unique. So I'm curious to see how they can stack up against, say, if BlackBerry were to pull something out, is it going to be able to stack up against these new guys coming out with the A10 processors, the new sort of body designs? It's really going to come down to Tuesday and see what they even show off. I know they even talked about, I think it was John who mentioned that they were going to show off a roadmap. And I don't think that's going to be entirely devices, but as far as I know, it's a 12-month roadmap where they're supposed to be talking about some of the devices they're going to be coming out with, some of the next sort of software cycles. But I think part of the reason that we haven't seen anything leak is because we need almost a 10.3.2 build to dig through just to find those hidden files that say, new code names, or perhaps even the pictures that we find in the help bars. So the other thing I'm hoping that we see is the new classic colors. We've seen a lot of talk about that over the past. When they announced the classic, we got a little bit of hints here and there in the Q&A session that they were going to be releasing some other colors, the blue and the bronze that they talked about. As far as I know, the bronze was a little teased off a little bit. I heard it wasn't well received. But are you guys interested in seeing some other colors for the classic? And if so, what colors?
I wonder if they actually will go through with releasing the blue and the bronze. Because they really remind me of the same colors that the S5 came out. Came out with. So,
I wouldn't mind seeing
blue and bronze. That's like the S5 came out in blue and bronze too, didn't they?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if, to have a red classic, to have a couple more colors. I don't know if they're actually going to go through with the blue and the bronze, especially the bronze if it wasn't that well received.
Yeah. Khalid, what do you think? Do you have any interest in the classic to begin with?
I actually just bought a classic this morning just to try it out. I haven't been able to play with it a lot, but I think red. I love when the red passport is unreal. Like I love that color on that phone. So I think a red classic would be awesome.
Yeah. Dylan did one. You did a concept for that, right?
Oh yeah. There's been I did a sort of a myriad of colors there. I did up the blue mock-ups, which aren't available on the BlackBerry Central site right now, but they're available on my channel, of course. So it'd be cool to see the red, I think, personally. Something to complement that red passport that came out, give it a little bit of a flair, something I think a lot of people are interested in too. But I think blue is almost well received as well, given the fact that we had the sort of the blue color schemes back in the BBOS days. The Bolds didn't exactly receive that treatment. You could have done it third party. But we had some curves here and there, and some of the older beginning models that were in the blue iterations, rather than anything purely black. So yeah, I'm really hopeful that we see something innovative. I think you guys are too, and I guess we'll try to do as much coverage as we can. I know we had someone ask on the site if we have anybody at Mobile World Congress, and unfortunately we don't. But that doesn't mean we won't be able to have that coverage. I know we have a lot of good people in the Barcelona area that are able to give us a little bit of information. We don't have any representatives there, but you can bet that the site's going to have some cool info about it. So stay tuned for that for sure. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was the Detweiler and Fenton case. That's something that's been in the news a little bit here and there. So I wanted to ask Deval, if you could just fill us in a little bit about what's going on with that. And Deval's mic is not working at the moment. Let's give him a second here, see if he can work it out. Yeah, still not working. Unfortunately, Deval won't be able to fill us in, I don't think, at the moment. So the Detweiler and the Fenton criminal case that's going on right now, it's sort of this sort of false information that came out a little bit ago about BlackBerry having a more higher rate of returns than actual sales of the BlackBerry Z10. So these are sort of these false accusations that sort of ruin the reputation of BlackBerry. It takes away from their spotlight and trying to do something better for themselves and try to get more out there. So having cases like this, like having the typo events, they almost set BlackBerry back a bit. What do you guys think about what's going on? Do you think this is bad for BlackBerry? Is this good for BlackBerry? It shows that their legal team's stepping up, or do you think it's bad in the fact that it takes away too much from what's going on with their sort of positive sides, the advancement in devices and software? I'm going to ask Shlomi. Shlomi, what do you think?
I think, to be honest, I think it's not too bad. I mean, it's not like they're dealing with it as the main as their main focus, and the legal team is on retainer. So anyway, they get their money, so it's not a waste of money. And yeah, BlackBerry needs to fight back on some issues. I mean, we've seen since 2010 or 2009 even, people are bashing RIM at the time and BlackBerry later on without any response. So I think it's good. I think BlackBerry needs to set them straight and respond to them. It's not. It shouldn't be their main focus, but yeah, we need to. Us, the community, all of us, need to respond back. Yeah. So I think it's a good thing overall.
Yeah. Khalid, have you been following the typo sort of situation that's going on? I know that's something that's been almost more prominent than this DNF case.
Yeah.
What do you think of typo? Is it a copy? Is it just something that BlackBerry's kind of going off a whim with, or what do you think?
No, I mean, the fact that they were able to win the first suit in court, right, to stop them from selling it, and then I like what BlackBerry's doing, just to take them back to court with their second or third version of this typo and try to get them to stop selling it, because it is a copy. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that the first iteration was like a really blatant, like it's like they didn't even bother to Google it, or maybe perhaps they intentionally did this. But seeing it, it's unfortunate to see that they didn't follow through with that sales ban, and now they're facing those consequences of having to pay basically the Ryan Seacrest investment. They're basically having to pay that to legal fees now, and then more on top of that for the lawyers. So it's a shame where it's gone. But have you seen Typo 2?
I have, and I still feel like it is still, like, BlackBerry does have a right to take them back, because it's still very similar.
Yeah. And I think there's almost a question to ask in there too. It's, can you make a mobile keyboard without it looking like something that BlackBerry has done? It's basically like BlackBerry has a monopoly on the entire industry when it comes to mobile keyboards. It either looks too much like a curved keyboard or it looks too much like a bold keyboard.
Well,
Yeah.
unless you have this slide out the side keyboard that I think Samsung used to do, or whatever. There was some Androids that used to do that. That's pretty much all you can do.
Okay. Yeah, it's been interesting to watch, I think, and like I said, it's almost like a monopoly. So we'll see what Typo responds with. I wonder if they're just going to say, okay, we kind of have to can the idea just because there's not much to do here. But it is good to see, and I think Deval mentioned here in the chat that he enjoys BlackBerry's sort of tenacity, and their willingness to go after this and sort of chase it down, and make sure that it's something that they actively deal with rather than just allow certain things to exist. So it's really good to see that. But I think it is a bit distracting in a lot of ways too. When we have headlines, for us as a community, I think we monitor a lot of things. We're very aware. We're very aware of what BlackBerry is doing, but when it comes to a public image, there's almost a concern where people are, like, I've been asked a few times this past week, what is BlackBerry doing? Because they read headlines about legal action, and they read the negative stuff, but they're not reading, the positive things that they're doing. They're not reading those Android for Work headlines as much as they should, perhaps try to educate themselves. So it's been really, really interesting to read. But I want to end off with a quick question here to everyone. Where do you see BlackBerry 2015, end of the year? Where do you want to see them? Do you want to see them doing new devices? Do you want to see them kick up software? What specifically do you want to see BlackBerry do this year? I'll start off with Adriano.
I think they gotta keep pushing the services to get as many different streams of income as they can. That once they have a good stream of investments and stuff, and they have money coming in from all different sorts of places, it'll help them take bigger, bolder risks in the device market. It'll help them, they'll be able to take a risk that they might fail, as opposed to seeding out like the Leap or a Classic. They'll have more money to play with, or pay for better device manufacturers' services and stuff like that. So I think solidify making more money. So and that would help the stock as well go up,
Yeah, absolutely. How about Deval? Actually, I should skip Deval since his mic isn't working. Jared, where do you want to see BlackBerry go this year?
I actually really like the path they're on. I really like the path that they're on. Actually, I like the very targeted device releases. I can't wait to see the roadmap. I like the one innovative device per year. That's always going to be the device I'm going to get because I like the weird techy stuff.
Yeah.
The lower end stuff, and really high-end stuff. So they know their market. They know exactly what devices that these markets are looking for, and the emphasis on business. Like they're going to be by the end of 2015, they're going to be cash flow positive. They're going to replace the lost revenue from the old BIS, the old Blackberries.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's going to be some good devices coming out this year. I'm pretty sure the Z10, Z30 holdouts are going to be happy with what comes out this year. I don't really know what I would change. The past couple of years, I think BlackBerry's biggest, strongest moves have been the partnerships that they've been making, and their acquisitions. So with the SecuSmart and that sort of thing. So if they can just continue to make those good partnerships and those really good acquisitions, the company is slowly evolving into something quite interesting.
Yeah. Jim, I think a lot of people would be interested in hearing what you'd like to see out of BlackBerry this year.
I like the fact that they're trying to get a good base, with getting all these revenue streams in, and then they're also innovating at the same time. I always like the new devices. I'm looking forward to an all-touch device. I'm a big Z30 user, and it's you said 2 years old now almost. So the other thing I'd like to see is more consumer-focused marketing, I guess. They have this focus on enterprise, but I don't work in an environment which is like an enterprise. I wouldn't consider that. And I love BlackBerry, and I consider myself as a consumer. So I'd like to see more of that. I know it's not been great for them in the past to go down that direction, but
Right. Yeah. What about you, Khalid? What do you think? What would you like to see?
I can agree with Jim on the marketing. Like I don't know if you guys saw that video clip of them relating their QNX with everything. That would have been awesome to show on TV, or to have people see something like that it's integrated in everything that we do. So that I think we should see a lot more of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Scott? What would you like to see out of BlackBerry this year?
It's not necessarily a BlackBerry as per se, but it does with BlackBerry. I'd like to see finally the Canadian government go all in, because I think that would be the final thing to say, you know what, and show to the world that the company's going to stick around. A little foreshadowing to my upcoming article, but there's something like 90,000 BlackBerries in the Canadian government, that the predominance of them are still sitting on that BBOS. So with BES 12 now launched, it's given the government now a chance to finally transfer over from BBOS to BB10. So once the Canadian government comes in and says, yep, we're all in, I think that will solidify and make a lot of companies feel, okay, BlackBerry's been around for a long time. If their host government supports them, then we'll see a lot more confidence in the company.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be
I think
definitely.
that'll help.
Yeah.
Like, American companies are very supportive. American consumers are very, very, very supportive of American companies, and that could help us help BlackBerry in this sort of way. If the government is supporting it, it'll give the consumers more of, okay, if the government's using it, then maybe it's a good idea to use it.
Yeah, for sure, and I can tell you, the government's already started to switch and has announced that they're going to switch. But the issue was the BES 10 debacle, where it wouldn't support BBOS devices. So I think now with 12 launched, we're going to see a more steady turnover. But I'd just like for the government to finally come out at December 2015 and say, yep, we're all in BlackBerry 10.
That'd be definitely a good boost for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. And what about you, Shlomi? What would you like to see? I know you're a BlackBerry elite, so this is a good question for you as well.
Well, I can't comment on that, but
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, what do you want to see out of them? What do you want to see out of them being in your position?
For the short term, obviously, we all like to see a positive cash flow and return to profitability. For the midterm, I'd like to see more polishing in the software services. They're still lacking in the OS. I mean, it's not fluent. I mean, it's lagging sometimes. We all see in the latest BBM betas still lagging. I mean, it could be further improved. For the midterm, I would like to see, my personal wish is an all-touch or concealed keyboard or whatever, high-end device, which I love and I get in a blink of an eye. And that's it for this year.
Yeah.
No, I don't have wishes for consumers because I know it's not going to happen for this year at least. I doubt if it'll happen on 2016 because they're still in a turnaround mode and it's a long process. The direction is good. I trust them, and yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Yeah. So there's this sort of theme going on here where everyone's almost interested in an all-touch device. I like the Passport. I'm fine with it. I like the ratio. You get used to it, I think. At first, you're unsure about it, but once you get used to it, I think you get flying with it. So if they can do something like that, like the Visa, whether they do a 3-row keyboard or whatever it is, I think it'd be a good sell. I know for myself personally, I'm really hoping not so much on the front that they improve, but it's actually more internally. I've seen a lot of things go on internally. I've seen some things with consumers and with enterprise that they almost catch you at a bad taste. You see consumers on the front end buying phones from Shop BlackBerry that have just awful experiences. You have bad customer service in a lot of ways too, but you also want to make sure that those things are improved. It's not just about getting the devices out as well. We want to make sure that we get that sort of back end things. We want to make sure we have a solid customer service experience. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm an Apple guy in a lot of ways. When it comes to my computers, I'm Apple all the way. And I know that I've never had a problem with customer service. It's always very friendly. It's always very fast. And there's not that sort of miscommunication. There's not someone here in Canada saying that there's something wrong with the service and then some guy in India saying something a little bit different. So it'd be nice to see BlackBerry refine their customer services. I think that's almost the next step for them. And then I think software could use a big bump too. I see things like the Passport flickering issue too, and I question, I think, and I look at QNX and I look at their software side and I say it makes me very curious that there's this company that's very software centric that's unable to resolve an issue like Passport flickering. It really makes me second guess some things. So I'm just really hoping overall they improve their customer service and really refine their software stuff before they push it. But as we end off, I want to give another thanks to Jim and to Khalid for joining us today. Really appreciate it. I think it was a really good first podcast for the BlackBerry Central team, and hopefully we can continue to do this. Hopefully the viewers appreciated it today. And then I want to, of course, thank the viewers for tuning in today and enjoying the show. If you have any comments for us, don't forget to leave it on the site. Tweet us at the BB Central or leave it on our BlackBerry channel, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So thanks to everyone for attending, all the BlackBerry Central guys as well, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye-bye.